we'll end at 11.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, here we are. We're live again. So hopefully this works. And thank you for your patience. If you are just catching this now, I believe that our live is streaming and was streaming on LinkedIn. And if you're watching this again on LinkedIn, hello. If you're watching this on YouTube. So here we are with Ryan Clark of Clark College Consulting. And I'm Amy Haskell, and hello to a lot of you. We've gotten some new followers lately, which is really exciting. And today, Ryan and I wanted to share with you, we're here to help you. We wanted to share with you mistakes we're seeing parents and students make on their college applications, and specifically on their college admissions essays. So Ryan, will you take us through, did we get through 3? We have 7. Did we get through 3 before? What was mistake number 1?
Yeah, we went through a lot of them. Let me see. We talked about forgetting punctuation and grammar.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So that was the last one we talked about. We talked about lack of familiarity with the college on their supplemental essays.
Oh, yeah, on the supplemental essays, yes.
Yeah. Let's see, what else we talk about?
Okay.
I have a few more. We can just, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is really important. I think that, so what happened, if you're going to catch this on the replay, and we had gone live for about 15-ish minutes, 10 minutes, realizing that this was not streaming to Facebook. So we're doing the best we can with tech and tech troubles. And so it's like take 2. So here we are in the thick of college application season with the early admissions, the early application due date. Mm-hmm. Is it always October 15th or November 1st in some case also?
Well, for a lot of the schools around here, yes. So like Georgia, Chapel Hill, it's the 15th, right? NC State's November 1st. There's a lot of them around November 1st. So,
but which ones are? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Around November 1st. Are those more up north? I feel like.
No, there's some, obviously more schools around this area. Most of them are November 1st or the 15th, November 15th as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Because yes. Now, what Ryan and I want to share with you, and so we're going to do a real quick recap. Grammar and punctuation, and with the supplemental essays, I think this is worth repeating. The big mistake is students think, they pour their heart and soul, they put so much time into the Common App essay. And then they have 3, 5, 7, 9 plus supplemental essays. And everyone listen, this is from Ryan College Consulting, from his professional advice. Sometimes the supplemental essays mean more to the colleges than that main Common App essay. And so what we're both seeing is kids not knowing that until they meet us, but racing through those. And can you talk a little bit about I'm done with my supplemental essays, and you read them and you're like, oh no, you're not. And just repeat again what you said, like we're both seeing one of the biggest flaws with students in these supplemental essays.
Really just being very general about the college themselves and not understanding the differences between the schools. So, the litmus test I tell my students is that if you can go online and go to the college and gain the information that you put in the supplemental essays within a minute of looking online, it's probably not good enough. So what I mean is understanding the really big details and differences between one school versus the other. That's kind of what they're looking for. They want to understand that they put their heart and soul and they really want to go to their college. And so they're looking for evidence that you did the work, right? That you're proving to them that you are doing the work, that you have spent more than a minute looking on their website to find out more about their college, right? And so the supplemental essays sometimes help them determine that.
Well, and I think this is so interesting, especially from your point of view, being like a college consultant. And a lot of times the students really don't know. They think they want this college or that college because their older sibling went there, their parent went there, their neighbor went there, this really cool kid on the soccer team went there, right? But they don't know why. And so in a way, I think writing those supplemental essays is like a litmus test in, gosh, is this the place for me? It's really tech. Or is this the school for me? It's very liberal arts. And I know I want hardcore business or hardcore engineering. So you can really use these supplemental, and that's what the colleges are doing, right? They're saying, is this student a fit? And so it's a great way, just as I say, the Common App essay is oftentimes a cathartic experience for students, especially if they're writing about something difficult or even something really great, but they didn't realize that about themselves. Well, now the supplemental essays are the perfect opportunity for students to show the colleges and even learn themselves and come closer to those colleges themselves by demonstrating specific details. Okay.
And here's the great thing. Once you write that essay and you make it really specific to that college, there might be another college that has a very similar supplemental essay, and you can use the same basic formula, but change the details. Does that make sense?
Of course. We do that all the time. Yeah. So, we'll say, let's be strategic. Students will say like, oh, Miss Haskell, look how this college's supplemental essay is similar to this one. Is it okay if like 90% of the content is the same? Of course. Like if it fits, of course. Yeah, so that's cool. And then the other one we talked about earlier today is just the real quick grammar and punctuation.
Grammar, punctuation. We talked about having someone review the application, right? Whether it be a parent or counselor or a friend, a teacher. They just need someone with a different set of eyes to review their application before they hit the submit button.
Absolutely. Okay, very cool. I think we have time for one or two more. What other mistakes are you seeing?
Yeah, I would say this is probably one of the most important, is providing an incomplete list of awards or honors and activities. And a lot of students don't realize that the activities list and their honors award section on their application is what we call a hotspot, meaning that colleges spend a lot of time, the readers, they're going through these applications really quick, right? So they just give them a few minutes each. And so they scan, then they stop. They scan, they stop. And so where they stop is one of the places is on the activities list and the honors award section. And so this is the place, if you spend some time, you can really separate yourself from your competition and, maybe move yourself from the maybe list to the accepted list.
Okay, that's awesome. But I'm trying to think, like, what are students missing? Like, if they know they were captain of, or they know they were founder of, or they received an award.
Right.
I guess I'm just trying to think, like, why would they miss that?
Well, typically what I find is that they know of the big things that they're involved in, right? So if they're involved in cheerleading for 4 years, that's obviously going to be on the list. But sometimes they forget to ask mom and dad or friends and go, hey, am I missing anything here? And sometimes, we'll look at it, mom and dad will look at it and go, oh yeah, you remember freshman year, you volunteered to help out with the YMCA to collect trash. Why didn't you put that on there? Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, what about this time you went to church and blah, blah, you know what I mean? And you just forget those things just because it happened 4 years ago. It's not top of the list or top of the mind, if you will. And so it takes some time to, when I tell them all the time, you're going to be driving down the road or you're going to be doing homework and something's going to pop in your head, right? That activity list you forgot. And so you just want to write that down, put it on your list.
That's great. I actually had a friend, a mom, and her kids are finished with high school. One is actually done with college. And she said someone gave her a great bit of advice that, yes, when students start their freshman year, to just create like a spreadsheet or a doc that lists, what the student did, any honors, any leadership, and of course, it's just having the discipline to do that.
Yeah, that's the hard part. But it's so much easier if you can do that beginning freshman year. So much easier to look back on that. So much easier. As opposed to going back 3 years and going, what did I do?
Right. Absolutely. absolutely. Okay, very good. And any final mistake you're just seeing and you're like, gosh, if everyone could know about this, the whole college application process would be easier.
Yeah, I mean, we could spend, like I said, a whole another hour because we just hit the tip of the
Okay.
iceberg. Let's see, which one's another good one? Sometimes I see students come across as very selfish in the application.
Oh, what do
You've
you mean?
seen that before? Like look at me type of thing. And so you want to be cautious with that.
But
There's a
where do you
difference.
see that? Because I kind of know what you mean, but tell me more because you see more of the whole application than I do.
Yeah, I typically see it on the essays themselves, right? And
You do?
mhm. And sometimes it's not the essay itself isn't exactly what it should be, if that makes sense. It should be more
Right.
about stories about themselves and proving through their stories that they have these characteristics that colleges are looking for, right? And so sometimes if they don't do this the right way, it's more selfish than it is about the story, if that makes sense. It's hard to
So it
explain
it
to the
does make
first.
sense. No, it does make sense, and I think that could be something that we teach about. I had a student, terrific student, has been done with her Common App essay for a few weeks now, but completely gutted and stopped when she thought she was done with her first draft. And I just said to her, I said, it's error free, spelling, punctuation, grammar. I said, but it's just I feel like I'm reading a brochure.
Right.
And she looked up at me and she said, "You know what, Mrs. Haskell, I agree." And I feel
Yeah.
like that's how I've been taught how to write.
Right. 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 Yeah. A lot of students
So,
think the Common App
and I
is like essays, like you put your resume on there, right? You're typing in and that's not what you're supposed to do.
no. And so that's a really good question. I had someone ask me yesterday, like, how do you teach tone?
Hmm.
And how do you teach voice? And that's very, very difficult. But I think the tip is like what you said, to focus on like the story, to focus on what is it that you're saying about yourself. And
Right.
if you especially bring in true, genuine, like internal conflict just a little bit, that makes the student seem a lot more human than I
Yeah.
was a leader here, I founded this there, and I got
Exactly.
this, group, this honor. So, okay, so sounding arrogant or selfish in the essay itself. Do you see that? I mean, is there anywhere else you could see that in the other parts of the application?
Typically not. I mean, of course, in the activities list, that's where you want to be. That's where you want to shine, right? I mean, that's where you want to show the world all the things that you've done.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Very good. And what do you do? Can I ask you a question, or did you have one more tip?
No, go ahead. Ask away.
So, what do you do if you have like a stressed out parent and student combo, like a senior,
Hmm.
contact you now, and they're like, yeah, we have 5 schools we're applying to. I'm just 6.
Sure.
2 of them are for early application. The parent says he's done some of the Common App essay, but it's really not great. Where do you even start? And again, I know it's one of the last days of August, so it's not like this is the end of September, right?
Right.
There's still some time. I mean, where do you go with something like
So I guess the question is, if they come to us and they've like halfway through the application and they're kind of stuck, is that the question?
Yeah, yeah, and really aiming for like October 15th, November 1st, maybe have one for like January 10th or something like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, if they're that far along, then I think we're good, right? It's the students that don't have a college list, that haven't started the application, that haven't started writing. That's when it gets tough because and they want to try to meet the October 15th deadline date, right? That's when it's like, oh my
Yeah.
gracious, well, we can do it. It's going to take
Right.
a lot of work on your part.
Okay.
We can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot can be done. It's just like I always love the phrase, what is it? You can do pretty much whatever it is you want to do. You just have to understand the commitment, the work involved, and the dedication. And
Right.
especially with a team with resources, this can be done. So I think that's really a smart idea to say, yes, you can do this, but let's outline the steps and really see if you're willing to commit. I mean, so much of this is commitment and time management.
Right. Exactly. And if we
Okay.
can't meet that time, that's okay. We still have the opportunity to apply to those schools. We're just not doing early action, right?
Right. Right. Okay.
Which
So I have one quick question also. You have a student, pretty good student, and the student's pretty sure they want to apply early decision
mhm.
somewhere. However, they're not 100% sure. But they say, well, Mr. Clark, I think if I ED'd it, I'd get in. Like my chances
Mhm.
of getting in are higher. Advice.
My advice
What do you
is, yeah. So there's two things that I tell my students. Number one, I have them sit down with their parents and go to the college's website. And every college by law has to have an early read. There's something on their website where you can put in your financial information, and it's going to give you an estimate of how much it's going to cost to go to that school. So I tell my students to sit down with their parents, do that, look at the numbers. If the parents and you are okay with the financial aid award that's quoted, then that's the first thing, right? Because
right?
early decision, as you know, you're obligated, and you don't know what the cost is going to be typically. And at
But
least,
what if they were set on the cost and they were
sure,
really coming at it from the angle like, Mr. Clark, if I apply early decision, is that going to increase my chances of college acceptance?
and it does. It does
Oh, it
increase their
does. Okay.
chances. Absolutely, it
Okay.
does. I mean,
Okay.
not
And then what about
yeah,
is it the same thought process for early action or
no,
not necessarily?
not
Right.
necessarily. Right, just
But
early
early
decision.
decision, okay. Okay. So early decision from your point of view, and which I agree with, does increase an applicant's chances of acceptance. So can
Absolutely.
you give us like the 1 minute answer about early action? Because I think a lot of students think that by applying early
Mhm.
action, they're going to increase their chances of acceptance, but you're saying not necessarily. Please
Not
explain.
necessarily. Yeah, yeah, not
Mhm.
necessarily. I mean, more and more colleges are accepting students earlier and earlier. So I do encourage my students to apply early action if possible. And that's why we try to start early.
Okay.
And the only reasons for that, number one, is to take it off their shoulders at the beginning
Yeah.
of senior
Right.
year, right? To
Right.
get it off their
Right.
plate so they can
Yeah.
enjoy their senior year and
Right.
concentrate on. Not necessarily is it a huge advantage in terms of getting into college,
Oh,
right?
I
So,
think a lot of them think it is. I think a lot of school college consultants tell students to push, push, push. But what do you think about this in the with the result that they're going to get accepted? But
mhm,
question for you. What about the student who is really on a wonderful upward trajectory with grades and involvement with sports or theater or even volunteering or their job and really believes they're really kicking it in, right? I have so much of my life is like a running metaphor, right? It's like the last 100 yards on the track of that mile race. And they really believe that their first semester senior year grades and their involvement is going to up the ante, improve their college application. So they don't want to submit for early action.
mhm.
Is there truth in that?
Potentially, because it all depends upon the high school. Some high schools don't update
Mm.
transcripts, and,
Oh,
and so if you might have the end of semester, first semester of senior year, get all A's, but it might not show up on your transcript.
oh,
Right? So
interesting. Okay.
and so you submit that transcript to the college. The college doesn't see all the A's. Now, some high schools do. Some high schools will update
Yeah.
the transcript. So it depends upon the schools, what I would say.
Oh, that's so interesting. So if okay, so then I guess what I'm hearing from you is if that is, you parent out there, your strategy with your student, they are like, well, I don't think early action, other than being done with it, I don't think
Mhm.
early action is necessarily going to increase my chances of acceptance. I really am going to kick it in and have a strong first semester senior year, which I tell to all of my students to do anyway. Because if you do
Right.
apply early action and they do call for those first semester transcripts, you want to showcase, your strongest academic self. So what I'm hearing from you, if that is your strategy, then you need to make sure your high school is updating your transcripts, or your strategy is really all for naught.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So,
interesting. Thank you.
and again, there's not a huge advantage applying early action versus regular decision in terms of acceptance rates. Colleges can't accept all of their students freshman early action, right? So I tell my students, if your application is ready, if your essays are ready, if your letters of recommendation are ready, you've checked it, you've rechecked it, you've written 4 reviews of your essays, you are good to go, then go ahead and apply, right? If you've reviewed it, go ahead and apply.
4 reviews of your essays. I tell my students, I'm like the average student. I'm like, look, they're like, Miss Haskell, I've rewritten it 2 times. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, if you want this to be good, we're talking between 8 to 10 times. Like, that's hardcore Haskell coming through, and then they laugh. But it's true. I mean, published authors, how many times have they rewritten like the first paragraph of the first chapter, right? 25 times with 25 people looking at it. So I think you're right. I mean, I think what I'm hearing from you is when you feel like you're ready, I mean, all your T's are crossed, your I's are, your I's are dotted, just make sure that it's proofread. And I think it's important to commit to a date. I think it's really important that teenagers have, this is one of the first things I do. I'll say, like, when are you submitting by? Like, oh, Miss Haskell, October 15th, or maybe not till January or November 1st. I'm like, let's write that date down and let's reverse engineer that. What does that really mean? Right? When are you done with your Common App essay? For you, when are you done with your activities list? For you, when you have those teacher recommendations in. So I think for teenagers, don't you think it's so important to help them with time management? I mean, it's funny, but it's true. And these are some serious due dates. So, well, thank you. This has been totally awesome. Thanks for redoing this. If you're watching this, please say hello. Please post a comment. Please ask us a question if we don't get to it now, because I don't know, like the delay sometimes with people posting comments. But this is really fabulous if we look at all of the mistakes that you're seeing students make with their college essays, with their college applications, that I'm agreeing with. I'm seeing a lot of these mistakes with their essays. And if these could be easily avoided, to what extent would students' acceptance rates increase, right? Exactly. And so I think this was absolutely fabulous. I do think it's tricky to teach students tone when writing their essays, because we're both hearing perhaps some kind of an arrogant tone, and it's really coming from a good place. I mean, kids are really trying to showcase their best selves. Exactly. But thank you for your time. Is there one last golden nugget, one last piece of advice that I know a lot of parents watch this on the replay, and I'm getting a lot of positive feedback? I mean, other than telling my audience where they can reach you if they have any questions, I know you offer a free consulting session. We'll do this again, but what's one last piece of advice you'd love to leave parents with today?
Yeah, I get a lot of questions from my seniors about the new FAFSA form and the differences between the new FAFSA form. And so I'm going to be doing a live Q&A, live presentation for my parents and my students, and I'm going to be doing it for the general public as well. It's going to be next month. It's going to be around 6 o'clock. We're still finalizing the date, but it's probably going to be around the 13th. It's kind of what I'm guessing right now. And so we're just going to invite anyone that wants to join us. We're going to spend 30 minutes or so talking about the new FAFSA form, the changes between the old FAFSA form and the new SAI calculation.
So you're talking about the potential of helping parents save thousands of dollars.
Potentially. Well, a lot of frustration anyway, or a lot of questions that they're going to have about the FAFSA form. So.
Okay, awesome. Okay, that's fabulous. And I think that your perspective and your expertise is invaluable. So thank you. I know that's a huge piece of the pie here. Well, excellent. Very good. Thank you so much for your time. And I would like to leave everyone with the quote. Remember, as far as the essays go, whether these are English class essays and you have a frustrated freshman who is going to get back their first high school English class grade and just can't understand why they're not getting an A, or whether it's a college admissions essay, there is no good writing there's only great rewriting. And to what extent does your child need to rewrite in order to get that A and in order to write an amazing common application essay? And as we talked about today, really good supplemental essays, because I think, and I think you agree, Ryan, those mean more than they ever have before. So thank you so much. And quickly, where's the best, easiest place for parents to find you, other than sending you a message here on Facebook?
Yeah, of course, we have our own Facebook page, clarkcollegeconsulting.com. And then, of course, our website at clarkcollegeconsulting.com.
Fabulous. Okay, thanks, Ryan. We'll do this again. Appreciate it. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.